Now, last week in practice, the coaching staff designed the game plan around Haskins' strengths. Now, the question is, was that enough? We'll talk about that and a lot more as Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus is coming up next.
Welcome to Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus television show here on the Mid-Atlantic Sports Network. Let's welcome our co-host this week, the former chaplain of the Washington football team, Mr. Milton Harding. A man Tom Knott once called Mad Mike, the mouthpiece of NCAA maniacs, Mike Baker. Washington football team beat reporter and member of the Fairmont University women's basketball 1,000-point club, Miss Donna Hopkins. One of the most prolific pass catchers in the 20th century and four-time Pro Bowler and Super Bowl wide receiver Gary Clark. And a man who played in the NFL for 14 seasons and one of the all-time sack leaders in the NFL, Super Bowl pass rusher Tony Mac the Sack McGee.
Welcome to Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus and the first place Washington football team. You know, I didn't get a chance to say that all year. And so what do? You go back and bring some of your heroes from the past, guys. And the reason I'm opening up with this guy right here, he just became a father this week. Let's welcome Adam Batacci back to the show.
Thank you very
Big
much.
Daddy, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Well, now let's get to the unpleasant things. Welcome back, guys. We got the homer there. You back, man. Your team seemed to play pretty good. We got G there. He's up in Colorado skiing. We got Donna, she's in the penthouse in New York, and Mike is in the booth. Now tell me, guys, what do you think about this? The Washington team is in first place. But to me, this game was lost right before halftime and right in the third quarter. You say why? We had two throws that should have never been made, two offsides by the defense, two big runs by their offense, 40 yards something, 38 yards by the quarterback, 53 yards by a running back. Those plays right there, to me, decided the game.
Yeah, Tony, I think the game was sacked from the beginning in the slow starts. Once again, this team gets off to a slow start on both sides of the ball. But offense, they're not a good enough team to get behind by 17 points and try to make up. Haskins had to be in because Alex Smith is out with a calf injury still. There was some good things that Haskins did, and there was some bad things that he did. And the two picks were two of those things, Tony. But, you know, they tried to work with him during the course of the week and putting the armband on his hand to help him to get in and out of the huddles quickly. But I still think that if they could have established a running game to help him, that would have helped a lot. They only ran the ball 20 times. They had him throwing 55 times. And that was, to me, not one of his strengths. But they had to be balanced on offense to get him going. But I think, like I said, he did some good things, but he still has to improve a lot in his decision-making because he does not look comfortable out there still. So to me, the game was a struggle in the first part of the half.
You know what, Gary, they kept saying that they thought the wide receivers weren't stepping up well enough, and they kept mentioning Terry's name. Now, in the second half, he seemed to come around a lot. Tell me how you think the wide receivers, did they help Haskins? Did they finally come around, and did they need to do more?
I think you always need to do more, especially when you got a quarterback coming back in who's been replaced and they're coming back in. You need to be able to come out there and give that quarterback the confidence that he needs, that knows that you're going to make catches that you typically may not make in the game, but you're going to make because you're going to show him that they have his back. But honestly, with everything you guys have said, it came down to them with the ball in their hands, driving down the field in the last quarter to win the football game.
Yep.
to win the football game. I mean, with all the bad things that happened all the previous quarters up until that last drive that we had, they still had a chance to win the football game. And they go out with 4 bad plays and we're basically in their area, in their red zone. That's what gets me. I mean, it's just things. And if you win this game, it's done. It's over. You have set a tone that, guys, we're the Washington football team. We're getting into the playoffs. You better watch out for us because we're going to bring it to you. And that's the only thing I was upset about is because you missed that. We're in first place still, yes, only because everybody else for the most part lost.
Yeah.
But you know what, Milt, if you'll take a look at it, to me, it seems as though Haskins was a little bit better or maybe a lot better than he was the last time we saw him. Do you think that's a result of him working under Alex? Do you think now that maybe he's getting an understanding of what they need him to do?
Yeah, Tony, I think it's a combination of all of those things. I think he has heard some of the noise about how he needs to be a little more diligent in study. I think watching Alex off from a distance over this period of time has contributed. I also think that the magnitude of this game, not a must win, yeah, but like Gary said, that you make a statement if you win this game. And so going into this with the injury areas that we have, with Alex being out, the linemen were nicked to the point that you got to have all cylinders. I feel Gary's, because I think back in the day, if that's one of the coach teams and you do have the ball in your hand, that whole mindset is not, can we win? I mean, the whole mindset is let's win. And I don't know if that confidence level was there with Haskins at quarterback. I think that contributed.
Okay, Donna, I want one question, and like Judge Judy say, this is just a yes or no. Did that diamond earring help him in his play any? That with number 7 on it? That's all I want to know, yes or no?
It would be a big no, Tony.
Okay, Adam, let me ask you this. I left you right there. Adam, let me ask you this. Running game, you 84 yards. The other team had 181 yards. Isn't this a difference in the game?
It is, but you know what? The absence of Antonio Gibson was the difference in this football game. If you have him out there on the field, they probably win because they're able to chew up the ball on the ground, chew up the clock, and keep Russell Wilson, the Seahawks offense, off the field.
But the question, Adam, is would they commit it to running the ball enough for that to happen? Because
absolutely, they would, because
they don't run the ball a lot, and they have McKissick and Barber are 2 capable runners also, but they did not do that because they got behind again, and they had to play catch-up ball, meaning that they were going to throw the ball a lot. But Logan Thomas, Tony, is the main target. It seems like week out of week, they're tight ends in making plays, but they are just not a good enough team to be able to make mistakes. And 15 points, if you're going to make the playoffs, that is not going to win you games and moving forward. They've got to be able to score a lot more points on offense. But Tony, let's go to Haskins and Terry McLaurin and Coach Rivera to find out exactly what they thought about Sunday's game.
Stuff happens in a game, and really it's just not letting the mistakes carry on to the next series and next play. So after that play, I put it on myself to do as much as I could to help this team come back. And, we fell short. And, I thought we had him at the end.
I feel like he tried to do the best that he could, bouncing back from turnovers. He had us in a position to win the game. And, he had a short-term memory. So I felt like we made some plays and we left some out on the field, but that just doesn't fall on him. We got to, including myself, got to make some of those bang plays to help out the quarterback.
There were some missed chances. We had some plays that we could have made that, could have impacted the game. And unfortunately, we didn't make those plays. And, you get across the 50, you got to put points on the board to give yourself a chance to win football games.
What I like about that, one thing, and I really like what the coach said, we did not make the plays. So right there, I know they're not making excuses like coaches in the past. You got to make the plays to win. If you're going to be a playoff team, you need to make the plays. Right now, if I look at that, you can't run the ball for 84 yards. You can't control the ball for 32 minutes to 26 or whatever minutes it was, and you not win the game. You can't jump off sides when it's big plays. They had 2 in a row. And let's be straight up. Our next segment is a defensive segment. I will talk about them, Donna. I'm surprised you haven't said anything yet.
I will.
You can't wait, can you? But if you take a look at this team, though, and anyone can chime in if they want, to me on Sunday, they look as if they do get into the playoffs, they could be a hard out.
Absolutely. Anybody coached by Ron Rivera is going to be well prepared, and they're going to hit you in the mouth on every play. That's what he did in Carolina. That's what he did as a player with the Bears. It'll be the same kind of thing here. They could be a very dangerous team in the postseason.
I think that they're got to play a lot better, Tony. They are a team that if they get into the playoffs, they almost have to play perfect games against some of those teams that they're going to meet in the playoffs. No one in the NFC East, whoever wins that conference is going to be over the 500. It's going to be an 8-8. But I think that for this Washington team, they cannot have the hiccups that they had on Sunday. And in the remaining of the season, we've got to see solid football to me out of this team the next 2 weeks, establishing the running game, probably getting Alex Smith back, but they can't play catch-up ball if they're going to move forward.
I think what you said in the end was very important. Alex Smith coming back. Talk to me a little bit, Milton, about if you had Alex Smith out there on Sunday. Would it have been a different game? And I think it would have. Even though the game was better than we thought it would be, with Alex Smith out there, I don't see him losing that game.
I won't say that I don't see him losing the game. Even as a homer, I would think they would have won the game. But I think the confidence level up and down the line, backfield, on the ends, is going to be different, obviously, with Alex in there. Alex is going to make some obviously different choices based on a game script for Haskins versus what Alex would have. Then you can't take away the experience in that situation. I mean, that's a big time marquee game right there. That as a quarterback who says the league has made a mistake, then that's your moment and your time to shine. I mean, what Gary said, it's some weight to it. Alex Smith is going to carry some quiet swag that is going to put confidence in everybody on that across that team. And I don't know that I saw that there, especially after the 2 picks. I mean, there were some ups and downs in it, but the fluidity or the consistency, the continuity of it just didn't seem to be there. And then you would expect it. I'm not like Donna that says Haskins should have been Pro Bowl material yesterday. But given the fact that he is thrust into this, there's probably not.
I didn't say he should be Pro Bowl, but he should have been a lot better.
But you were thinking it.
I wasn't thinking that because he's not Pro Bowl yet.
Wait a minute, Milt. I got to go with her on this. And now you're going to come back with you were thinking that. So you reading her mind now.
No way, you know how Donna wears her mind on her sleeve. She doesn't mince words.
Milton, I'm a person that if I think it, I'm going to say it.
Well, I'm going to tell you what. We got to take a break. And when you come back, I know what you're thinking, Donna, but I'm not going to be a homer for the defense. But at the same time, I know that I want to ask Gary one thing. Did Mark Rippon ever have a scribe or 2 tablets on his arms when he was looking at the plays? That's an inside joke. Back in the minute. Well, welcome back to the show. We had a little debate as we were out in the timeout about did a certain missed extra point create a problem for the game? But this person's cousin, which he's calling me right now on the phone, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to tell you, If he doesn't miss that extra point, I think it changes the whole game.
Hey, Tony, how many points did they lose by?
1.
It was physically
My
5.
math.
It was physically 5 points, but that 1 point miss was mentally
1 point makes
15
1
points.
point makes that you're behind by 4 points still, meaning that you still needed to score again. But as Gary said, if they don't get sacked those last 3 times, they pretty much is able to move the ball and hopefully score.
Well, that was an unfortunate situation. As you know, Moses got hurt, and then the other team has a pretty good rushing game to them anyway in rushing the passer. But at the same time, I'm just not happy with the pressure that our defense did not put out there. I'm not happy with the plays I did not see them make that I know they can make, and they have made in the past. What do you guys think about it? And Adam, I ask you, you're a good defensive man. Our defense performance on Sunday, give me your thought process.
Well, I mean, you're dealing with a mobile quarterback. And if you've looked at this team all year, mobile quarterbacks have given them problems. I'm talking about Lamar Jackson. I'm talking about guys like him that they've come in here, they've won, they've beaten them. Daniel Jones is another name that comes to mind. They've struggled with guys who can move in the pocket. However, their defensive line has to generate more of a pass rush against elite competition, or you're going to be on the field all day. So they just need to collapse the pocket a little bit more, I think, with their front four. If they do that, they have a better chance to win.
Hey, Mel,
Tony, they didn't have any sacks on Sunday. They did not have any sacks.
Why are you bringing that up? We said that already, Donna.
Well, I'm agreeing with Adam's point is that they got to have more pressure up front. They had 0 sacks on Sunday, and then they were missing 2 linebackers. Now, you said that they gave up 181 yards on the ground, which in their previous 4 wins, that's where they controlled as far as not giving up those many yards. But then they missed 2 linebackers, which was the Achilles heel of the problem, I think, on the defense. And giving that up, they were missing Hogan and Lewis. So you look at that and you like, okay, I can understand that happening. But Payne said something important. He said that they needed to be more aggressive on the front end, Tony, and not be thinking so much and just reacting. Could you talk a little bit about what he's talking about in just their slow starts again?
Well, when you're playing with a lot of different people you haven't played with and people are trying to learn how to play, you kind of adjust your game. You may think that the guy next to me, like I used to have a defensive tackle that I knew he was small, but I knew he could swim and get outside and make big plays and get to the quarterback. But at the same time, I knew, just as they should have known a little bit better on Sunday, that when you got a mobile quarterback, the first thing you got to do is keep him contained and stay in your lanes. That way you control him. So when you take a look at that, yes, your players make everything happen. But when you look at making plays, it's a whole defense making plays. Now, those 2 linebackers being gone, it didn't mean nothing because they lost when they were there, did they not? It ain't all about your team and how you execute the defense. And I'm one to say you got 4 number 1 draft choices up there on the line of scrimmage. They need to be playing on that side. And when I say that side, the offensive side, that's what he meant about being aggressive. It's okay to make a play on the other side of the ball, but it's better to make a play 2 yards on their side of the ball. So that's how they have to be more aggressive. They have to move more as a unit, but at the same time, you did not hear linebackers' name again, and they're too important. But to me on Sunday, I don't think, and G, you're a wide receiver. It didn't seem as though the defensive backs were doing that well either.
I mean, to the end of the day, this is the way I look at it. The team overall played at a C level. That's what they did. They played a C game.
Yeah.
But even with that said, I'll go back to this again, and I'll go back to it again probably 3 more times on this show, is they still put them in a situation where the offense got the ball back and had a chance to go down and win. That's what games are adversity all day long. I want to play in adverse things going into the playoffs, because once you get into the playoffs, it's really going to get hard. It's really going to get.
Yeah.
So I want to see them win with adversity. I want to see them win ugly, because when you win ugly, that means when you play great, you walk away winning. Right. I mean, that would have been an ugly win, but it'd have been perfect for press. Because now when I win ugly, I stand up now and I'm like, man, we didn't play our best and we still kicked that butt.
Yeah.
It gives you a whole nother way of looking at it. And then when things get in despair, had it been us, last drive, we have to score a touchdown to win. We got this. Not once in my brain would I ever thought we're not going to win the game on the last drive. All we have to do is score a touchdown. All I got to do is score 6.
My goodness. Tony.
I want that.
G done fired me up. G got me fired up.
Hey,
The next
Tony,
thing I
he's
see in my head.
now.
I see in
Wait
my
a minute,
mind right now.
y'all see Milton trying to get dressed over here? Talking about Jeter fired me up.
The tempo that he's talking about and the momentum that he's talking about, because I watched this with my own eyes and not being too far. I was trying to keep from getting Gatorade put on me. G would have tossed a Gatorade container at some point in time on the sideline when that level of ability and opportunity presented itself. And so I'm saying I feel the fire that he's talking about. As bad as they played, and they only lost by 5 points, they still were in position to win the game at the end of the game. It's in their hands. But I want to circle back to something Adam said, because I agree with it in terms of the defense putting more pressure on. There's a part of this watching this game that suggests to me, not that we got out-coached, but maybe we were playing something in our head because there seemed to be game planning to keep Russell in the pocket and not outside. And also we're gaming the wide receivers. Well, you look at the passing game, I don't think Wilson had over 150 yards, probably less. Yeah. So they never even went to a passing game. But if you go back and look at the rushing game, Carson, Wilson, and Hyde, all of them had about 50 yards plus each. So they said, hey, well, okay, we don't even have to pass because they're not controlling the run, and that one play on contain, they got caught up inside big time, and Russell Wilson just scampers around. But still, that's 150 plus yards on the run game, which was supposed to be our forte. So I think that there was more thinking going on about not letting the deep ball, because he was planning to keep everything in front of the DBs, but not let the deep ball kill him, and then also keeping Wilson inside.
But
the
Tony,
defense looked very tentative in that first half.
Those 2 runs, though, think about it. You take away those 2 nice runs, those breaks, they shut.
Yeah. Oh, my Lord, we in the game. Yeah, we in the game. Yeah, absolutely.
Not only just the 2 runs, when the 2 runs occurred, right there right at the end of the second and at the beginning of the third, it just changed the whole momentum. And as we've always talked about on this show, whatever transpires usually in the third quarter, we know how the game is going to go. Yeah. Usually the person that's going to win that game, they established that in the third quarter, and that did not happen. Donna, you was about to ask me.
Yeah, Tony, this defense, they played well enough for this team still to have won because they gave up the points in the first half. They only gave up 3 points in the second half. So they really did their job in bunkering down more so in the second half. So when you look at 20 points, if this offense scores some more points, at least 14 or so, they win this game. So overall, when you look at the defense, even though they didn't get the pressure up front, they actually did play well enough for this team to win.
Yeah.
They did. Now, wait a minute. I got something that I got to do some show business here. Now, fans, you know that we call Milton the homer, and we tell you how cold and cool Gary is, and we say Donna runs over people. So now that Adam's here with a new baby, Adam, can we call you Big Daddy?
Sure.
So, Big Daddy, let me ask you this. Right now, if you listen to the tone of all of our conversation, if you watched the show 3 or 4 weeks ago, we were just talking about improvement, seeing improvement. Now we're talking about what do you need to do when you get in the playoffs, or if you get in the playoffs. Has there been enough improvement in this team that we have the right to talk that way?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's only one glaring look at this, and that's that left calf that Alex has. Or is it right calf? Right calf, whichever one it is.
Wait, Adam's mouth was moving and you was talking. I was getting ready to say, you sound just like Milton.
Well, that's part of it, but I'll mention something else. And Ron Rivera has touched on this all season. This team has been a second half team since week 1. They've come back in the second half to win games. You got to change that a little bit. You got to be a half team that takes control from start to finish.
You know, it's one statistic that they gave at the beginning of the game that Washington is the only team that has not scored on the first series of a game. Washington is the only team in the league that have not. So you have a very good point right there. But defensively, what I'm looking at, coordination is going to have to be key. We right now know that you have a defensive line that can dominate a game. You can watch some of the things they're doing, and I must digress and go back. I'm talking about Chase Young. I watched that young man a little bit on Sunday. He uses his hands well. He moves well. He's still raw, but at the same time, when you can see a good player, remind me a lot of a young Charles Mann, a young Dexter Mann. The young man got some tools. So when we come back to second half of this part of the show, instead of finishing up talking so bad about the defense, we're going to talk about Hopkins and the missed kick. We'll be back in a moment. Again, I go to my preaching and I say, you have to have 3 facets of the team to win or lose. And if one of those facets falls short, they may make the other part of the team lose. Now, with a kicking game, that should never happen. But when you miss an extra point after you've been struggling to get back there, and you've been missing some points before, is there a slump going on now? So what I do, I go to this guy's sister, cousin, they got the same name. Donna Hopkins, you need to stand up for your relatives.
Well, Tony, you know, you're exactly right. That extra point was key, but I don't think that loses the game because, as I said before, they were down by more than 1 point. I mean, he had, over the last probably 3 or so games, he had pretty much kicked everything. So why is it that when he comes back and misses just 1 extra point, that all of a sudden y'all want to ship him out again? I'm not understanding this, Tony.
I'm just wondering, I'm looking at the screen, and all you can see with me and Gary and Bill, we just laughing.
Look, we never unpacked this bag from back in the middle of the season.
I knew y'all was waiting for this. I knew
Adam,
y'all was waiting for this.
since you haven't been here, Adam, what do you think about that missed extra point?
I don't think it was crucial, but I think it did affect a little bit of their decision making. I think if he makes it, they're a little bit more aggressive in other ways, whereas because he missed it, you had to be more conservative.
Yeah, good point.
Thank you, Adam.
Good point.
Okay, timeout right now. We got to take a timeout personal break. Now, Adam, being a new father and everything, did you get a chance to watch the whole game, or did you even get a chance to watch it?
I did. I still did.
We're telling you this.
Absolutely.
You haven't seen anything yet.
Hey, Tony, what are you trying to say to Adam?
Your football watching days may be over. You got to change diapers. You got to do all of that. But congratulations on it. And how's the baby?
I've already been doing.
Your wife and everyone.
Thank you so much. She's doing as well as happy and healthy as can be. And my wife's doing well too. We're all here at home. So we're happy.
Well, let's get back to some illness. Okay, Donna, how you going to cover up for this kick? I'm going to tell you what, a lot of times you keep mentioning 5 points, 5 points. When you got a 1 point, and when you get that and you can see in the end of the tunnel that you can win with a field goal, your whole attitude change. Am I right, G?
Definitely.
Come on,
Hey,
come
Tony,
on, Bobby.
can I take y'all back to the 2-point conversion that they called? And I don't know what play that was that didn't even have a chance of getting in. I mean, when you got to look at all of these pieces, Tony, instead of just one person that missed 1 point.
You see what happened to him when he missed the 2-point conversion. They sat him down for the next 6 weeks.
Oh,
So
the biggest thing that happened, did you just see Donna Hopkins throw the coaches under the bus? She's
I
going
know the
into
truth.
a bad play. She's still having to address a missed extra point. Donna, they pay these people a lot of money to kick extra point. If Gary go out there and drop a touchdown pass and they keep us from going to the Super Bowl, he wants to be paid, but they pay him to do that. So there's nothing you can say. And that's the one thing, and we are joking somewhat, fans. We're not that hard on him because the young man had a pretty good year. But at the same time, when you are a kicker and you go out there with your short pants on like all kickers are wearing now, and you miss an extra point like that, then you shouldn't come over and sit by me on the bench.
Well, Tony, you're exactly right. I'm sure that he is kicking himself to say that he should have made that. So I think that he took that on his shoulder, like I'm taking it from you all today.
That was a good one. All right,
Tony,
let's start looking at this whole thing, the way it's transpiring right now. You look at what's going on at this point in time, and good, Dallas won. That's the one we needed to win if anybody was going to win. You look at the Giants right now. If they get knocked off next week, it's over, as Adam has said, I think, pretty much. And you look at they're going to play Philadelphia the last game. So right now is in Washington's hands, is it not, Adam?
It is, but you know what's interesting, Tony? And I don't know how everybody else on the set feels about this. If Washington wins tomorrow on Sunday and the Giants lose, Washington wins the NFC East. I'm a little curious about something. Why hasn't NBC decided to flex a little bit and put this on Sunday Night Football with the possibility of a division clinching win against Rivera's former team? That'd be pretty good ratings.
A division clinching win with an 8-8 team. That's why they do not put it on Sunday night. They want someone that people are going to watch.
Okay.
They know that if Washington gets in, if the Giants gets in, if Dallas gets in, if Philadelphia gets in, you got a low-grade team getting in right now. Not saying they can't play, but you got teams that have maybe a 8-8 record or 7-9. That's why they will not put it on.
Hey, Tony, it's kind of scary these last 2 games. They're playing Carolina. You mentioned this on the front end that Carolina is not an easy team that you can just go in and think you're going to beat them. And not only that, Philadelphia is improving also since they changed their quarterback to Hurts. They seem to be able to put a lot of points. And then even Dallas is starting to play a little bit better. But when you look at this Washington team, have they started to play better each week, or is it some hiccups along the way? So going into the playoffs, so they've got, to me, 2 hard games coming up in Carolina in taking care of them, and also a Philadelphia team that they've got to go up there and play, which is playing much better now.
But you know what, G, and I know you're an offensive guy, and you know what I'm about to say. And if you take a look at this, Mike got a message here for me. Don't you know I can't see Mike? This is way over my pay grade. So let me finish this right now. You take a look at this. And the one thing Washington has been able to do, and any of you can jump on this, they've been winning with not a lot of points. So what we're looking at right now is out of those 4 teams, which defense is the best? Now, if you look at how many points have been scored against teams, the Giants are only 2 points less. They've had 2 points less scored on them than Washington. The other teams are 100 or so more points over them. So those 2 defenses, the Washington defense and the Giants defense, will be the best of the East going in there. So therefore, that's why when they get into this in your defense, and G, you know this very well, even though you guys scored a lot of points and everything, you knew that as a defense, we had to go out there and shut some people down and give you as many opportunities. So that's why I'm saying when Washington go into this, if they make the playoff, do you not think, G, that makes them real dangerous?
100%. I mean, the way that you finish the season, offensively, defensively, and special teams, means so much. If you can go into strong, that's when you go in strong. And again, I hate to keep going back to that freaking last drive, but it's like you want teams to think of you this way. If it ever comes down to the defense, it's a defensive struggle, which seems not a defense struggle. The defense has been playing great, and the offense has been playing well enough to manage to get a win. But it has to get to the point when you know when you get the ball, people say what? It's Brady. There's 2 minutes left on the clock. That's too much time. They scared of that. That's too much time. They're going to go down and score a touchdown. Not if they're going to score a touchdown. They're going to go down and score a touchdown.
True.
Yeah.
So what I want to happen for this Washington football team is the last 2 games when they go into the playoffs, they run into the playoffs. Where people say, you know what? If they get the ball with a certain amount of time left, they're going to score points. We're not going to have a chance to win the game because their defense is so strong. Because the defense always tends to come through when they need to. Even last game, they needed to stop them so we could have a chance to go down and win the football game. They did that. They shut them down. The defense is on point. Now, what they have to do is realize they may have to help the offense more so than they have in the regular season. Because getting into the playoffs changes everything. Everything.
Yes.
It just does. It changes everything. And anybody can win the Super Bowl at that point in time.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Now, speaking of that, let's go back to what this segment is about. Have we seen enough plays? Are there enough plays, and any of you can answer this question, from our special teams to make a difference if there is a playoff?
Not yet.
Got about a minute now.
Not
Come on,
yet.
someone tell me.
Not yet. But the key word is not yet. That doesn't mean it can't happen in the future.
The most interesting player on their special teams to me is Steven Sims Jr.
Three.
He has lightning quick speed, and he has the ability to make a big play. I'd like to see something from him before the end of the year.
How about our coverage?
Coverage seems to be pretty good, Tony. It's just like Adam and Gary said, is we need someone to break a big one and help out with the field position. If they can do that, I think they'll be all right on special teams.
Yeah,
I think, go ahead, Milt.
I was going to say, seemingly the only place we're having some concerns about special teams, and I won't bring that name up again because I think we've exhausted the conversation on that, but there is a specific area in the special teams that we need to make sure it stays shored up from here to the end of the season, and that's the kicking game. I mean, and you know what gets me is that, and I've not been a kicker, so I can't. I mean, and I'm actually a fan of his now. Believe it or not, after we talked to Mark Moses a few weeks ago, Mark says it gets in his head mentally, but he comes back and he kicks the kickoff, and it looked like it went right through the upright from about 90 yards away. Well, you got to hit an extra point. So I think, long story short, we got to make sure the kicking game doesn't begin to deplete itself. We need that going toward the end.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you're probably wondering why I went over for my commercials. Well, this is the first time in 12 weeks that Milton went 4-1, so we gave him a few more words this time in our picks. But do not worry, we're talking about the picks this next segment. He'll be last again. Oh, that's right, Mike's last. Ooh, we'll be back. I'm going 5-0 this week. You see me, Gary, I'm like the young lady said, that's our vice president, I'm coming for you. I'll be back in a minute. Welcome back to the show. And if we had a knockdown drag about who was going to reopen the show, because we're talking about a lot of different things going on. But Donna, you seem, in your reporting, you seem to get a lot of inside information. Now, we're taking in consideration that you and your sources have been wrong for 20 years, but do you have anything that's correct for us today?
Tony, my sources, I'm telling you, is always right. I mean, I can't help because they want to talk to you all, but you know, they've got Carolina coming up this week, Ron Rivera's old team. So let's hear from the coach in what he has to say about, meeting up with his team again. And also the general manager for Carolina just got fired. So I don't know if y'all knew about that one.
But we need to win the football game. We got to go out there and we got to want to play to our abilities. We got to want to play our best. And we got to want to win the game because it's the most important game we're about to play, because this one takes another step. And so we have to go out and do those things. I mean, to me, the emotions of the game is, I was there for 9 seasons, but, this late in the season, it's different. If this had been our opener, believe me, it would have been a highly emotional game. But it's not. This game, to me, the consequence of this game is really about this team, this organization, trying to be relevant, trying to take a step forward. So I want to see us focus on the reasons why we want to win the game as a team, as opposed to a personal reason. And I promise you, their coaches, since they have nothing to lose, they're pulling all the stops out. Fakes in terms of special teams will be up. Special plays on offense will be up, rolling in a bunch of different guys to see what they can do, and guys are going to be hungry because they want that opportunity to prove it. So to me, we've got to approach this game as if everything is on the line in terms of that for both teams, because again, this is a young football team we're facing, okay, and so they don't quote unquote know any better. We're a young football team. We really don't know any better either, except for we have something at stake, and we have to focus in on what's at stake, and that is the opportunity to win our division and get into the playoffs.
What Tony, Ron Rivera just pretty much was emphasizing that this game, even though, his last coaching job was with Carolina, it's not about the Carolina and about him. It's about this team moving forward and getting this game. And as he stated, that it doesn't matter about Carolina, who is out of the playoffs. He said they're going to come and throw everything at them as far as fake punts and they're everything that you possibly want to do in the game. This is what they're going to do. And he talked about them being a young team and hungry, so they have nothing to lose. And he said that they are a young team also. So, they just got to be ready for whatever Carolina is going to bring forward this coming week.
Well, and let me ask you this. Do you think it's still at a point that he knows enough of the players that he can give Washington a decided, maybe a little bit of an edge? Do anyone feel is still enough players that he know enough about them that he can help give us a little edge?
I think he may know X and O's. He won't be able to measure heart. It'll be something in that Carolina team that will want to destroy us. So I think he might be able to give some input on different ways they may play. But when they come in here, like Donna said, they're gonna be throwing everything they can possibly. I think we need to concentrate on what we do, but they're gonna be throwing everything at.
But Donna, why the general manager, and that's a young man that used to write for the Post. Am I correct on that? Why did they fire him? I thought he'd been bringing in the right people. I thought they were making a good move. What was the reasoning behind that?
It comes down to winning, Tony. If you're not winning, then you're dispendable. And this Carolina team, you looked at them being better because they made changes as far as the coaching staff and a lot of other areas on the team. So they had a young team. So they were looking for this team to move forward. And I just believe that they wanted to just kind of like change the whole atmosphere as far as from the general manager, the head coaching when they got rid of Ron Rivera. And also they knew they weren't going to bring him back next year. So they're giving him an opportunity to catch on with another team. Now, this Washington football team really does not have a general manager. So don't be surprised if you hear his name here in Washington.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. Now, we got about 4 or 5 minutes left, and let's start looking around the league. As we should do now, there's only 2 or 3 games left in the regular season. Everyone's positioning themselves for a possible playoff. If you take a look at this and you look at how things are working out, it's other teams around the league that during the course of the year, and I'll give you one prime example, Minnesota just bombed out this year. I don't know what happened to them. They are terrible. And you start to look down that whole side of the league, you look at the East, but then you look on the other side of the ledger, San Francisco has lost 20 people and they still got 9. They got 9 losses, but they still got 4 or 5 wins. So if the AFC stronger than the NFC this year, what do you guys think?
They are strong.
We got a couple of minutes, so let's get
Johnny,
through
they've got so many teams on the AFC side that, I mean, it's going to be a toss-up. Kansas City, to me, is the top pick there, but they've got 5 or 6 other teams that are strong.
Okay. One team that comes to mind for me this year, they're missing, it's the Minnesota Vikings. They're missing Stephon Diggs in a big way, as you can see by their record. He plays for the 11-3 Buffalo Bills, who have Super Bowl aspirations, I believe.
All right, Adam, Big Daddy.
Good point. Good point.
I
think that
I agree with Adam. You got to watch Buffalo. They just tend to win and keep winning.
Yeah. And don't let and with Buffalo, what everyone must always remember, it could be a snowstorm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then
When that happened, I played at Buffalo. I played 14 years in the league, and I never won a game in Buffalo or Miami. What were you about to say, Milt?
Yes, the NFC, Tony. What about the Saints, Milton?
Well,
Now, come on, Milt. She threw you right quicker. You only got 20 seconds.
Okay, 20 seconds. The Saints still will be strong going toward the playoff. Drew Brees will get it back together. So I think they'll still be a team to be reckoned with.
Well, we come back then. He thought that he was going to win the picks too, and we know how that worked out. Isn't that what Sarah Palin said? How did that work out? In a minute.
It took several months. We sat down as a committee to talk about exactly what we wanted to do. We wanted the entire community to be engaged. We wanted the members of the Black 14 to learn about who we are now. And then we also wanted to make sure that we had the opportunity to strategize how we can best move forward to supporting our current student athletes and students. So it was a lot of planning, faculty, community organizations, various departments around the university. Everyone chipped in, and we had the finale on the field. Very excited.
I'm here with my fellow brothers, Ron Hill, Griffin, Tony, and Guillermo. We all feel the same way. We've been bitter or we've been mad, but right now, the Black 14, the way they were 50 years ago, is gone. The new ones are here now. From now on, we talk positive stuff about the Black 14, and these guys here will be a positive part of it.
When Mike Baker comes in 4th or 5th in the picks, he always seemed to take time away from the show by he being the producer, and he picks us something different for us. So we'll go to those in the end, but anything that Milt does today that's out of character, that's because he went 4-1 last week. Donna, how did you allow Milt to go? How did he pick? He must have heard us picking first.
He was desperate. He called somebody up, Tony, to have them help him out.
Milt, you want to say something about that?
I want to speak to my attorney. That's all I want. I want to speak to my attorney before I say.
We don't even hear from Milton. Tony, we don't even hear from Milton, and all of a sudden today, our phone is binging about, I won.
I blew the phones up, didn't I? Hey, listen, this is back-to-back weeks at 4-1. I just want to let you know there's a storm on the horizon.
You got to go to the tape. Gina, you remember back-to-back 4-1s?
Well, the key word he said was there's a storm. Storm can go any way. There's a storm on the horizon. It could go either way. It could be a goose.
Oh yeah, it could get ugly.
You know what? I'm gonna propose, Adam. When you start coming back on the show, we may have to have you start working with the picks because it's starting to get tight now. And in the end, when it comes down to money, I don't want to lose none of my friends on the show, but I tell you what, it's getting close right now. Let's start talking about it now. We got about 3 minutes, and very quickly, what does this team need to do to beat this Carolina team? Now, we can't take them, they cannot take them real lightly because they got a very good quarterback. Got, as I said, one of the best all-around players in the league, and they built that defense back up. And they're also a team that likes to be physical. So where does Washington get started? Do you get your defense out there and try to harass Bridgewater, or do you try to have the running game take over the time?
To me, it starts with containing Bridgewater. If you look at all of their losses, they're all mobile quarterbacks, most of them. I'm talking about Kyler Murray. I'm talking about Lamar Jackson, Daniel Jones. Teddy Bridgewater is that type of quarterback. He will beat you with his legs. Contain him and keep him in the pocket. It could be a long afternoon for the Panthers. Otherwise, Washington may be in for a surprise.
Yeah, I wouldn't take it lightly. I wouldn't take it lightly at all.
Okay, go.
Yeah, they got to play
Mill.
like their life depends on it, Tony. I mean, it's life or death, and it really actually is life or death for them this week.
But now let me just say something to you guys, and I'm gonna tell you one thing. Don't take this wrong. G and I don't feel like this. You know what? And here I may be wrong, but you know what it feels like if I were playing in this game. I'm getting ready to make a name. I'm going out there and do whatever we need to do. I'm gonna call out whoever we need to do, and if I don't play well, I'm gonna say that too. That's the mindset that they need to go out with. And the one thing about it, if you're going into the playoffs and you got any aspirations of going to a Super Bowl, that's where you begin within yourself. Am I correct, G?
100%. You know, you see what's in front of you. Like you can taste the playoffs. You can taste it. We just know. I know for personal. We go on my first Super Bowl win. We go in Chicago and win. Minnesota beat San Francisco. They up San Francisco. We get home field advantage. No one expected the Washington Redskins at that time to go and be in the Super Bowl. And only do we get in the Super Bowl, we destroy the team in the Super Bowl. So anything can happen once you get into the show. Once you go to the playground for the show, anything can happen. So if I'm a player, I'm trying to get into the show. That's it. That's the only thing I'm thinking about.
That's a good segue for us to go. We got a minute left, so Donna, do we want to get to the show? So you got to give us what the scores are on the picks, because all of us want to get to the show, and we know there's only one person on there that doesn't have a chance, and one that's next to him that don't have a chance. There's only 3 of us that count. Come on, Donna, fill us in.
Well, Tony, you and myself are leading 40-25. We're in first place, but Gary is breathing down our necks with 39 and 26. And Milton, I mean, he's 6 games behind, and Mike, he's so far behind, there's no need for me to even mention him.
Is that why Mike don't come on the show anymore?
Wait a minute, Tony, I got an honorable mention. I got an honorable mention out of that.
That has absolutely nothing to do, Donna.
Right, come on in. Yeah, see that? Come on and defend yourself, Mike.
36,
No,
Mike. 29 and 36.
I just have a lot to concentrate on.
You know what? I'm glad you showed your face on here, guys. It's been a good show, but I'm going to tell you one thing that we do know. We look at that team and we look at how Seattle, they're going to the playoffs. So that tells you right now, it's not a big difference between them and the Washington team. When we look at this team, we say they got potential to be good. They may not be that good or the Super Bowl team we want right now, but it's like that old thing that we used to say in the hood. You know what that monkey used to say when he got his tail caught in the fan? It won't be long. They'll be all right in a minute.